Jenks Planning Commission, 6 p.m. Thursday, July 8th, 2021. And we will start with a roll call.
Scott West.
Present.
Leon Davis. Present. Jeffrey Byer. Greg Bowman. Here. Dave Randolph. Here. John Brown. Here. Daryl Mann.
Business item number 1 is consideration and appropriate action relating to a request for approval of the consent agenda. A motion on the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
Second.
All right, let's vote.
Leon Davis. Yes. Greg Bowman. Yes. Dave Randolph. Yes. John Brown. Yes. Daryl West.
Yes. Agenda item 2 is action relating to items removed from the consent agenda, which there were none, so we'll go to 3. Consideration, possible approval, denial, amendment, and or revision of JZ 21-670, a request by Bell Land Use LLC for a zone change from AG agricultural to CS commercial shopping. General location, the northeast corner of Highway 75 and 121st Street. Mrs. Hilton, you have a report for us?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. This is a rezoning request from agriculture to commercial shopping. And the parcel is one of 4 that are within the city limits, but it is surrounded on the north, west, and east by land that is not annexed into the city of Jenks. And that's what I said in the first paragraph if you tried to read. I don't think it was very clear. So it's to the east of Highway 75 and it is north of 121st Street. Just for the record, uses allowed at this time in commercial shopping is use unit 1, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 19, and 21. The comprehensive plan has recommended regional commercial, and we're referring to the Horizon Jenks comp plan. There are approximately 4.9 acres. If you look on page 26 of your packet, this is a broader description of uses that are allowed by right. And then if you go down, it talks about the bulk and area requirements that are allowed or required, I should say, within a commercial shopping zoning district. On page 27, there is a zoning map. And I apologize, somehow, whenever I converted to a PDF, my arrow got moved. Down at the bottom of that, there you can see a Google Earth shot of the 4 parcels. The 2 directly adjacent to highway or directly adjacent to 121st Street don't have any development on them. They look like they've been used for agriculture purposes. On page 28, this is a really good example in figure 3 of the area. So you're going to see where the arrow is the lot that we're talking about. And then it's surrounded by 3 lots, which are all in the Jenks city limits. And then that grayed out area or the whited out area, that land is not within the Jenks city limits. So if you go to page 29, we have a picture of the comprehensive plan, and it does show this to be recommended for regional commercial. We do not have a site plan. I've been told by the applicant that this is a commercial use, a gas station. It has been asked if this would be a truck stop. I have not heard that. I did ask the applicant, and there is not enough room on this lot for a truck stop. So the applicant, the application as presented tonight to the Planning Commission for recommendation is for commercial shopping, and that would basically commercial shopping is retail sales. So this application, if it were recommended for approval tonight, would allow the current and or future property owners to operate a use allowed by right in commercial shopping district. Staff recommends conditional approval of the rezoning request from Ag to CS. Do you have any questions?
All right, go and open it up to the commission for discussion, questions of Marseille.
Just a comment. It seems like this area is definitely a commercial area, obviously, but that stoplight at 121st and 75 kind of kills me. I think there's plans in the works from what the city council said, so, you know, I think that's in process, but I thought I'd just mention that because it is an issue now. Or like exiting southbound on 75 down there.
What, tell me more about that. You're saying southbound 121st?
Coming
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, like traveling
Southbound.
south on 75,
Mhm.
exit to 121st, there's a stoplight there.
Right.
And it really backs up, it's a little bit hard to turn left or east into there, so.
Yeah, I think
There's a stop sign farther in Elwood, that's a real problem, and I understand that may be a county issue, not a city. You know, that's not.
Yeah.
Good to decide tonight.
I think the stoplight's over off of Union that you can access off of 111th and come down Union to that stoplight. I think the
Yeah.
southbound exit off 75 is a stop sign.
No, you're right, yep.
Stop sign.
You have a light and then a stop sign.
And it is hard to make a left turn there, so I get off at 111th and come down Union and hit the arrow.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Gotta know the shortcuts.
Anybody else?
So that.
Just a minute.
the
We'll-
off-ramp-
Yep, we'll get to the public in just a minute. Thank you.
We don't know, certain what's gonna go in, we just know we've been told it's gonna be a gas station.
That is what I have been told. But it could at any time be anything that I listed in the staff report that's allowed by right under CS. So area-wide uses by right, public protection, community services, offices, eating places other than drive-ins, convenience goods and services, shopping goods and services, gasoline service stations, hotel motel, and business signs.
Did you,
Including the Smith Street?
It could, yes.
did you have any history on when this was annexed? As you described this as a donut hole, it's kind of odd that we've got just this little spot, right in the middle with nothing else on it around it.
I did not. I'll look it up, and if you'd like, I can get that information back to
I
you.
was just curious. Yeah.
I'll try to have it ready for council when I make the presentation. That's a good question. Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and open this up to the floor. If you have we'll let the applicant speak first. He's about to jump out of his chair.
Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Robert Bell. I live at 1011 with G and Jenks. And I have some information that I heard questions on, and some I don't. And I don't, I was hired to change the zoning of this property to commercial related to a sales contract. So the owner of this doesn't actually have solid information on what the buyer's gonna put on it at that point. What we do know is that once this zone change goes through, they will have to plat it. The platting will deal with the stormwater, the platting will deal with the city water and sewer if available at that point, where all that's connected. It'll deal with the stormwater. And so this is kind of the normal zoning process that we've all kind of got away from for years with the PUD scenario. But what we've heard rumor is that it's a convenience store. I wouldn't call it a gas station. I call it a convenience store. And I heard the question about truck stop, and I just don't think that it's big enough. I mean, this is a couple acre lot. At that point, it's not big enough to handle that kind of traffic and the parking of the semi trucks that come with that. So in my opinion, if it is indeed a convenience store, it's kind of your mom and pop convenience store. There's one of those in Maine and Elm. The Shell station at Elwood and Maine would also, I think, fall within that category, because it's not the big three. It's not Quick Trip, it's not Come and Go, and you know, and the new convenience store that we've got two of at 121st and out of Highway 75. So just wanted to clarify that that's a rumor. I heard the rumor. That and a rumor might come from the buyer to the seller at that point, but it's still, until they present something to the city, it's a rumor, and this is the first step. Good news is that by requirements and statutes, they have to comply. They'll have to provide a site plan. They'll have to show where the stormwater is going. They'll have to show what the issues are. In your annexation request, it seemed like we annexed this back about 2005. It was one person bought 3 tracts. That's the seller today. Jeff Dyes was on the planning commission at one point. He owns a lot behind this, and he requested to be annexed in at the same time. So, and that's how we kind of ended up with that pocket. The reason why it hasn't developed to this day is the cost of the sewer and water. It's the water's got to come from Eddington Place, and the sewer's got to go to Bridal, the Simmons subdivision on the east. That's on the east of the old county subdivision that's out there. So that's the issue. So I think it's good to move this forward to get the synergy, because this should have been developed. And as this develops, then the rest of the area that's in the county can develop and be what it's going to be. And there's a lot of people out there that love their homes and love their situation of 2.5 acres. And I think the way the annexation laws go nowadays, if they don't request to come in, they'll remain in the county and it'll remain undeveloped at that point. But it's good to get the synergy going, because that'll get the value of those properties up. So.
We have issues when you talk about water and sewer for that site, for where the plat comes in, knowing that it is surrounded by annexed land. Is there going to be right-of-way issues to bring those city utilities in?
That would be for the owner to coordinate with the city. Yeah, there's going to be,
those roads out there
there's
are
going to be
county
a
owned.
lot of issues.
They're county dedicated at that point.
They'll have to work through all of that, and it will be a lot.
So Robert,
Yes, sir.
so these 4 lots are owned by one individual?
No, actually, I think it's 2. It's 3, because Jeff Dice still owns the residential structure that is on the lot to the north of this tract, which is, hey, it works. Kind of works. Which is above where the arrows, the lot that the arrows point at. There's a residential property right there. That house that's on that is owned by Jeff Dice, which used to be on, before he moved out there, he was on the planning commission at that point. The other lot with the house is owned by the owner of this property. And I'm not certain, but I think he sold the one that also butts 121st Street, because I've been contacted by another owner that was curious what they're going to do with water and sewer, because he wanted to participate.
So we're just talking about this track, that's all they're buying, because obviously the whole truck stop deal, I mean,
Is out.
if we turn this to commercial, they could buy up all of them, put a truck stop in there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all I ask. I mean, I want it going to commercial, I don't have a problem with that. I just don't really want a truck stop in Jenks.
What I know is I think the other two properties out there, the ones to the east, will get rezoned soon. Because I know that I've seen interest from those owners. I don't think Jeff Dice has any interest in selling and moving. I may be wrong with that. But he's the one that lives in the house just north of the property.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bell. We're going to open the floor up to the public as well. And if you do have something you'd like to say on this agenda item, we ask you to come forward and give your name and address and speak directly to the commission, and we will listen to what you have to say. Please try to keep your comments to about 3 minutes or so. And if there's something that someone else says, try not to repeat that too many times. So thank you. Anybody wish to come forward and speak?
My name is Dominic Halter. I live at 2921 West 114th Street. I'm directly across the street from Jeff Dice's house right here. That's my address. That's my home. I've got an issue with that becoming a gas station, not to mention all the toxicity that comes along with that, the water runoff, the eyesore, the noise, the racket, the crime. The list is endless. I can go down this list, but I'm sure you've got better things to do with your time. That's my home. I've gone to Jenks. I graduated in 1982. I consider myself a Jenks citizen, even though I'm not in the city limits. That's been my life, and a lot of people here have spent their lives in this neighborhood. I don't know what I can say or do to sway your opinion on this, but it's an eyesore that I don't want to have to deal with. This is my state. This is where I intend to live until I croak, but I'll croak even quicker. I'm sitting there breathing gas fumes. As a matter of fact, this 300-foot limit is based on old studies that indicate the venting that goes on in these gas stations and the leakage that comes out of a fuel tank from a car accumulates to about per 1,000 gallons. It emits the equivalent of 0.11 pounds of toxic material. Benzene, toluene, etc. Bad cancer-causing stuff. My wife spends her time, and she works from home. She's there all the time. Layla lives at her place. She's there all the time. We're directly across the street from the stuff. They've done an actual study that was conducted by Johns Hopkins University, Columbia University, that did an actual venting study. They came up with over a 3-week period per 1,000 gallons of fuel utilized through the tanks, venting through the underground tanks, venting from the vehicles that are parked there, and during the loading and unloading process of fuel. In actuality, it's actually 1.4 and 1.7 pounds of toxic material coming out. That's not counting the water runoff. That's just a vapor. So it's going to be like me living on top of an open gas can. No matter what it is, if it's not a gas station, then it's going to be a donut shop that opens up at 4 o'clock in the morning, banging around, waking me up, waking everybody else up. Intercom, a convenience store. The list goes on, and I've got material here if you want to see it that shows the findings of that Johns Hopkins study. That's just the gasoline part of it that makes me sick to my stomach. Like anybody that sniffs gas, makes you sick to your stomach. I'm sure, and I've got footage of what the ditch looks like when even after a moderate rain. It's a tidal wave on Mr. Dice's ditch. In mine, it handles it pretty well. If that's paved over with hard roofs, hard pavement, then all that water's coming down on me. It's going to come down onto my neighbors in the creek. Retention pond or not, I don't think it can handle it. It's already had trouble with the creek flow during the bridge on 111th being narrowed down, cutting down water flow, backing up water into people's property. Everyone along the creek will be suffering for it, but I'll leave the water to the people that really have to suffer with it. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Dominic. Anyone else wish to speak? Fortunately, the water issues get much, much, much better when these developments go in. They have to, or they're not allowed to go in. So we always see great improvement in the water.
Danelda Richardson, I live at 2915 West 118th Street in the neighborhood. And Nick did not mention that a concern, I'm farther off of 121st, so it's not going to be right at next to my house. But one of the biggest concerns I have is the exiting and the additional traffic that could result in commercial development right there. I think that sometimes the commercial development happens and it gets a cart in front of the horse because that street is a 2-lane street and it's already almost impossible to get out of our neighborhood a lot of the time. And they've already taken away, you know, when Lighting 75, they took away one of our exits because there was an exit out on 75 from our neighborhood. So the only other option is to go all the way through 2 additional neighborhoods to 100th Street to get out. And so I do have a big concern about what additional traffic on a 2-lane street with a narrow little bridge right there is going to do.
Thank you, Danelle.
My name is Richard Edwards. I live at 2813 West 120th Street, right next to Mr. Halter. And a couple of questions I have. Your map says a 360-degree radius. Well, that's not a circle. And I don't know why, but the other thing is this property is cut off on that side there. And inside the dotted area, is that what you're zoning?
Yes, sir.
And what is the rest of this over here about?
Everyone within that circle was notified.
No, that's not my question. The dotted line is cut off.
That's the property line.
No, I mean, your property line, is that access for, well, it looks like it's cut off for, you know, the highway to have
just
a new
the-
interchange or
Yeah,
something
it's
in
just
there.
the boundary line of the property.
A circle like that.
Yep.
And what about the property next to it?
That map simply shows you the legal location of the zoning case. So the smaller area shows the boundary and the parcel, and the larger area shows the 300-foot radius of everyone who received a notification.
But if you have a circle, you're cutting into R2 homes.
That's just showing you that if your property is anywhere touching or within that outer rim, then you receive that letter in the mail. That's all. It's just a legal notice.
By law, the city has to notify property owners
Well, I understand.
within 300 feet. So
The 300 radius, you know, shows that it would cut into our properties even more.
it does not. That just says that you got a letter saying, come here tonight to
Yeah,
discuss it.
anyone with anywhere that circle touches gets a letter. That's all.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Richard. Anyone else?
I'm Rodney Buck. I'm an officer in Southern Lakes Homeowners Edition, which is on 121st and 16th Street. My address is 12232 South 16th Street, Jenks. And the from 121st and now on east is full of homeowners associations, subdivisions, and residential properties. And over the years, we've seen, I speak a little bit about this because of some of the comments. When I first saw this in the paper, I sent a notice out to my 77 homeowners, and I got several feedbacks from them, wanting to know whether this was going to be put on the 2-lane road, this commercial, this change in zone. And it looks like that it will be. And I think the owners in our area, not just in Southern Lakes, but in Aberdeen and all the way down to Elm, are concerned with the development commercially with 2-lane highways or roads, and so these properties get rezoned, and we have business come in, and then we have it takes 30 minutes to get 1 mile in rush hour to go to work. And people going to work at 75, and be backed up down that road. And I don't know if that is relevant to exactly what you all are doing here today, but I just want to ask that if it is relevant, that you take into consideration the changing of the quality or the character of that part of Jenks when you have the clip in from agriculture to commercial, before you have the streets to handle that kind of change and not make it inconvenient and burdensome to people who have to get to work, have to get to shopping and so forth. So I'm here, that's my little piece of information for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Rod.
My name is Paula Fritz, and I live across the street from the Ed. I am a widow, and I am concerned about the value of my property with all this change out there on the 121st. I also have all the concerns my other neighbors have spoken of, and just thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
My name is Pamela Barr, and I live at 3017 West 120th. I'm going to be right in front of that property. Right now, my property is fixing to go up for sale. If that is put there, I'm going to have problems selling my home. I'm also a widow, and things just don't go right sometimes. So I'm really against this.
Hello, my name is Paul Stratton. My address is 1228 West 112 Drive South here in Jenks. I do not live in this neighborhood, but my grandmother Paula does and has since the 80s. I do also want to agree with everybody else on the traffic issues. We have this one, as one of the commissioners pointed out, is a donut hole surrounded by the city of Jenks and Tulsa County. And if you have one plat out of 4 that's rezoned, those other 3 could be rezoned, and you've got a city of Jenks commercial district that relies on the county and a completely different city to redevelop the traffic flows and the roadways through those areas. And even just with Elwood under construction, it already takes 20 to 30 minutes to get from 121st and Elwood just to 75. So if you've got 20 acres of commercial development and you've got this 2-lane road that's controlled by stop signs and 1 traffic light, it could take hours to get through this one little bottleneck. Because even on both sides of this plat, it goes up to 4 lanes just to the west where the highway is. But it immediately in front of this plat drops right back down to 2 lanes. And you've got 4 lanes of traffic dumping down onto 2 lanes of roadways. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Name's Rich Richards, live at 2914 West 118th Street, just north of the proposed property. I agree with every concern that my fellow residents have had. We also just moved into our property about 2 years ago. We bought the property because we wanted a little land. We raised chickens. There's forces around us. And if this were zoned commercial and turned into a gas station, we know what kind of effects it's going to have on the animals around. We eat the eggs. So we're actually consuming, and our chickens free range in our yard. So we're actually eating what would be coming off of any proposed site. A gas station per se really concerns me, on top of all the other issues, the health issues that would be involved for a lot of us, not just myself, that have animals and we eat our own eggs and things. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Rich. Anyone else?
My name's Robert Fouch, 12011 South Quanah. You know, I don't know where to start exactly, but just it seems like there's quite a bit to talk about, and everybody has. I agree with what they've said. There's definitely traffic issues there. There's 2 lanes, 4 lanes just on the other side. What's the other side? Is that Jenks? Is that Glenpool?
Glenpool on the south.
Okay.
It's Jenks on the
And
north.
before the Walmart came in and the Quick Trip came in, what they do to those roads? Well, they widen those roads. They made those roads big, nice. It can supply the traffic. That over there is a small 2-lane road. There's issues there every morning. That is a very busy road. I'm sure you guys have done a count of cars, but there is a lot of traffic on that road. It's going very fast. It's hard to get out. Quanah Street, do you know Quanah Street very well? Okay, that comes out and makes a little jog right at the end. That street is a traffic hazard, the way it sits. There's no other streets like that around. Take me to one street that has a little jog right at the end. Streets go out, straight out, and they turn right or left. That is a traffic hazard. You were talking about the off-ramp to 75, I think. You know, that is backed up every night. Every night. It's a 1-lane off-ramp, okay? They're using it as a 2-lane off-ramp now. And you know what else they're doing? They're backing all the way up on Highway 75 because that won't back up. Well, you said use the exit of 111th. I used that tonight. There was 25 cars that were waiting to get off the stop sign onto Union. Is that Union, I think, there? That was backed up tonight. They're both backed up. They're full. What are we doing to fix that? Is there any plans? That's probably not your department. I don't think it's Jenks, is it?
No.
Okay. Well, that's an issue. It's a traffic issue. Let's talk about water. All right. My house is down here off of the creek. It's east of these guys. That creek, what is that? Cold Creek? That comes, it runs north. Okay. Kind of weird. Comes out of Glenpool. What's happened to Glenpool lately? Building. Everybody's building. A lot of cement, a lot of asphalt. That creek gets out of its banks when a high rain comes, and I mean consistently. I've lived there for 20 years now. I see it getting worse. Every time we get big rains, that rain is getting worse, that water's getting worse. When that is built, it won't add much to the whole realm of the creek maybe, but it's gonna add a lot to that area. That's gonna be a lot of runoff going down towards that creek and towards my house. I think that is an issue. I think I will flood from that. I think my house will flood from that. All right. Is that an issue? Do you guys consider that?
It is considered, and like I mentioned earlier, the runoff actually gets better by law. No more water can leave that property at the speed that it does currently. It'll be that much or less, typically less, so it gets better.
Yeah. I don't believe that.
You don't have to believe it,
water is,
but that's done by a hydrologist, engineers. It has to be certified, and it does, it gets better. You don't have to believe it though.
The water's going to get better there. I'm not sure of that. I'll call you, you come down and see the creek sometime when it's
I've
out.
lived here 50 years. I've seen the creek a lot.
Well, you never lived on it, I bet, with the water all the way around
No,
your house.
no, and I never would.
with the water all the way around their house.
Nope.
Okay, just because you don't live there and don't want to live there, doesn't mean it's not an incident for somebody else.
It's very bad, I understand.
Okay, and it's something to consider, I think, but you see all these neighborhoods, they do have little parcels that they set aside for commercial property out on the corners a lot of times for gas stations or whatnot, you know, on Elm, they got the donut shop and the mini storage. And I think there's a place on the next neighborhood down on Elwood. They've got a corner set aside, but I don't think it's developed yet. It is common to have commercial areas on the corners of neighborhoods. And it's probably needed, you know, but for some reason that wasn't set up that way. But they've annexed some of it in, and it is now, I guess, and now they want to come into the neighborhood more. And they want to just come a little bit at a time maybe, and then maybe this guy, he'll want to get on board, and maybe he'll come too, you know, if we open that door for him. Yeah, everybody wants in all of a sudden, and maybe that's okay, maybe it's not, maybe that's the way it's done. I don't know, I've never been through that, but what it does to the property values to everybody else while that's happening, is that fair? You know, let me ask you a question. How is it, what is it that makes you say, no, we can't do this? What is it that makes you say that? I don't know either, okay? But I think it's common sense to put yourself in other people's shoes. And that's what you guys, I think that's your job. And we're dependent on y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. Vic, are you representing the applicant?
Yes.
Okay.
Big Brain, 109 East G Street. I'm actually representing the applicant, and I here just kind of clarify some stuff. Everything that these people have said is true. But that's not our duty tonight. That is for a meeting down the road. And those issues need to be addressed. Our job tonight is to approve a zoning case. Plain and simple. Actually, in a straight zoning case like this, you're not allowed to ask what's going there. Not at this stage. We don't know what's going there. We were strictly asked to deal with the zoning issue. This is in accordance to your comprehensive plan that we just spent $350,000 to update. And all it is a zoning case. If the developer comes in and looks at a piece of property, the first thing they do is go to City Hall and look at your zoning code. And they look at your comprehensive plan and they find a spot that whatever they're wanting to do fits. And this does. Now, these people's issues need to be addressed. The road on 121st is a different situation than any other road in Jenks. And the north side of that road is the city of Jenks. South side of that road is Glenville. And the maintenance on that road's been handled by the county. That road needs to be widened. That road's been in the long-term plans to be widened and desperately needs to be widened through there to handle the traffic. The water that comes off of there has to be dealt with. Has to be dealt with in a planning situation that if and when someone decides, we don't know if either going to ever build anything there. They're strictly asking for a zoning change to sell a piece of property. That is in accordance with everything that you put out. All of these people's issues need to be addressed, should be addressed, and will be addressed at the next stage, which is the planning stage. At that point, you find out what's going in there. I have no idea what's going there. My guess would be that someone probably wanted to put a convenience store there. I don't know. But whatever they put in there will have to fall under the use units that fall under that we've been through tonight. But what you're here to do tonight is deal strictly with the zone, not dealing with water runoff, not dealing with roads and traffic and any of that. That's later down the road. Tonight, you're here to deal strictly with zoning and then see if this is in accordance with the comprehensive plan. And if it is, that's your Bible that you go by. These are never easy. I sat in the seats you all are sitting in for 2 years before I moved on to the middle seat of the council for 24. So I mean, they're always tough. But the concerns that the people have tonight are valid. And that they're no new concerns. Those concerns have existed for a while. But the meeting tonight, this is not the proper meeting to have those discussions. Thank you.
Yes.
So on a strictly zoning purpose, as a right and proper citizen of the city of Jenks, I say no to commercially zoning this donut hole that has no other ties to the city of Jenks other than a couple residents asked to be zoned or annexed by the city. But as your constituent, I say no.
Thank you.
One other thing, if I may. Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
My name is Victor Connor. I live at 11819 South Dakota. I've lived there for 20 years. This property kind of a little donut. And for a long time, we're trying to be, was heard that Jenks, I know some had friends and family and homes since council that buy this property for commercial use to incorporate it in. It's not been visited close to 15, 20 years. I have talked to some of my neighbors. I can speak for them, that it is my indication, vast majority would think or consider listening to you annexing this property in, turning it into commercial with a lot of conditions. The problem is, if you come up this property, it's on the commercial, that affects out the rest of the elevations, drainage, a bunch of other things. It's small, thank you. Now, I agree, there should be an impact study done on how this is going to affect the county. If you don't, or your little piece of property, it's going to affect the MEP. An impact study can be expensive, but all their concerns are real. Traffic, sewer, must serve in the area. It's going to be a reach. Stormwater runoff is a reach. Now, I know about the potential retention. It can be put in. But it doesn't necessarily solve the problems.
No.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
I mean, you got a detention area just.
It's not gonna solve Coal Creek's issue.
No.
But that one piece is not gonna get any worse.
But, you know, what it does, if you look at the bigger picture, there's opportunities there to correct many of these big problems. Now, some people may be interested, some people may not. But the ones I've spoken with are open for dialogue. So therefore, you know, you're looking at a piece of property instead of a piece of property. So I think what all these people's concerns are very real. We've lived there, most of us lived there for 20 years. And you're gonna have to cross a lot of hurdles to get this one little piece of property to find where it's developed. That's all I gotta say, guys.
Thank you, Victor. All right. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna go and close the floor and have further discussion or questions from the planning commission. And I think Marseille may have something to say as well about the medium commercial.
I just had a quick question. On page 28, the unincorporated pieces to the west, Jason, is that owned and maintained then by the state because of the highway? Because you got the on-ramp and the share.
This here?
Page 28. So adjacent to the west. That is on-ramp. That's all. So essentially, there's no active agriculture happening.
Correct. Well, probably being mowed.
Okay. So there's really adjacent to the west, there are no property owners or any developments within the city or the county that will be impacted.
Right. When I went to the assessor's office, it shows as it's already dedicated as right of way. It serves multiple purposes, but it is dedicated for highway purposes only.
Do you want to?
I just was going to say a couple of things. Whatever is decided tonight, if this project moves forward, I will take your comments and make sure that the city engineer is aware of your concerns, and that if it were to move forward all the way through development, that they will note the things that you have spoken about. I've been in planning for almost a decade, and just because you rezone something does not mean something can be built. This property has a lot of issues, and you may or may not think this was funny. I used to think when people said you can do it if you have enough money, and in my mind, I thought that meant they were paying off people to get it done. But apparently, if you have enough money, you can pay an engineer to solve the problem, or you can get it done. So nobody's taking bribes, just so you know. But I've worked in several municipalities, and there are often lands that are rezoned and they literally never get built. They can't solve the sewer, or they can't solve the drainage. They can't. So the question before the Planning Commission tonight, and I'll remind you all of this, is whether or not commercial is appropriate for this area. And when the city of Jenks hired Housel Levine before I came along to update the comprehensive plan, and they did say that we think due to the location and proximity to Highway 75, and because 121st Street is has issues, but it's still a very important street for commercial purposes, and because we're so close to the Glenpool commercial development, they recognize that this, and will continue to call it the donut hole, should and could and should go commercial if ever redeveloped. And if you go back to the comprehensive plan before this, it shows that for years, I think it was probably 20 plus years old, that comprehensive plan. So for over 20 years, it was also medium commercial. So the designation for future development has not changed in over 25 years. It has always been designated as and for commercial development. So I understand, I live near ag parcels, and I understand your concerns. I would be concerned for similar reasons, but at the end of the day, the comprehensive plan does support the zone change, and the city has had it in their mind for over 2 decades that they want this to become commercial. So with that being said, I, in writing my staff report, did recommend approval of the change in zoning, but also know that it doesn't mean that anything will ever be developed, because I know also, and you can see I included on page 32 of your packet, I did include a utility map. And that map shows the flood zone. It shows where the storm sewer is, where water and sewer are located. And there, like I said multiple times already, and other people have said, there are a lot of issues with the site. Someone will probably need to have deep pockets to get it actually developed. But with that being said, staff has recommended approval of the rezoning.
I've got a few thoughts. First of all, I appreciate everyone coming and speaking tonight on all sides. It really helps us understand the local situation better and consider everything together. So thanks for coming. I guess I come back to kind of my initial thoughts. This parcel really is in a commercial area. I mean, it's right off Highway 121st. So it seems like it could fit for that purpose. The comprehensive plan also has it as a commercial area, so that further makes sense. It's already there. I'm really troubled by the traffic. I think sometimes the city in the past has gotten ahead of itself and group things, and then suddenly you get the situation kind of like we have here at 121st is a good example. So, kind of my personal view is it should be commercial when the roads are sort of able to support that fully. And I don't think we're there yet. And part of maybe this is strictly zoning, but I think we have to consider the big picture. That's what we're tasked with. And part of that is, how's the drainage, how's the roads, how's it fit with the overall scheme? So I really like to do this because of traffic issues until those are fixed. But anyway, I'm here for the rest of it.
I don't really have an issue with traffic. I do ingress and egress out of the town, oftentimes that way. Unfortunately, when a city is only funded or substantially funded through sales tax dollars, a lot of times you have to have that commercial available to pay for your road upgrade. And that's an issue that Jenks runs into big time. You go across the Jenks Bridge, you got the whole Coles complex. You go, just north, you've got Tulsa Hills. You go where we're talking about right now, Catacorner, you're in Glenpool, all that out there. So we get sales tax just flowing out of our city, which makes it really, really difficult for us to work with our roads. The city's done a great job being as miserly as they can and still make things happen. But sometimes these commercial entities have to go ahead of the roads, unfortunately, in a city of this size without a lot of commercial development.
We just add to that as well. Again, the reason I was asking about the property to the west, when we consider zoning changes, we are looking at all of the adjacent and surrounding properties, and the fact that nothing can go in adjacent to the west, and the fact that it is on a designated commercial artery. From a planning standpoint, it has been designated for commercial development for quite some time. And I think a lot of the traffic issues that everyone is experiencing, and I come down that way as well, I've been hung up in the traffic many, many times, it's because of the commercial development to the west of the highway going into Walmart and everything that we see to the west there. We are talking about a very small parcel of land. So the idea that we're going to be pulling off additional traffic, anything compared to what's going to the west of Highway 75 would not be consistent. There's just no way that they're going to be able to put anything in there that is going to draw that kind of traffic activity. And I would think most anything coming off there is probably going to come off the highway. You may find some traffic that will be coming west on 121st Street from the neighborhoods. And hopefully whoever develops this, they'll be thinking from a strategic financial standpoint that they're going to put something in there that's going to draw traffic from your neighborhoods and provide you with a valuable service that says, instead of going to Tulsa Hills or going down to Glenpool, we're going to provide you something that you need to buy, and we're going to put it as close to you as possible. So, so it is consistent with the plan, and I don't know how we can, reject it.
The question about your,
Sir, the floor's been closed, okay? I'm sorry.
it just addressed something that nobody's thought about, traffic coming out of that. How are they gonna go east without?
Thank you, sir.
Westbound traffic?
And I will address that.
And you've got a light 50 feet away in the opposite direction.
Yeah, from that standpoint, anything that's developed there, and Mr. Freeland already addressed it. Anything that happens from a plating or proposal standpoint beyond the zoning, traffic has to be considered, hydrology has to be considered, sewer, water, all of that has to be considered, and that would happen at a later stage. So anyone coming in, they'll have to be traffic and engineering will have to look at that to determine whether or not it will create a problem with the traffic. And we do look at that all the time.
All right, is there a motion on agenda item 3?
I have a question. Robert Bell, can you answer a question? So you said the water has to come from Eddington?
As far as I know, there's an 8-inch line on 121st and stops at the end of Eddington Place. There's no development east or west of Eddington along 121st in the city of Jenks at that point. Because Glenpool is across the road, doesn't require a 12-inch. It just requires the extension of an 8-inch line along that because it's only supplying water to one side. Because we don't have to supply water to the south side at that point. So the water comes from Eddington. Sewer. This is the low point. Sewer may come from this development in the future. Someday will happen, hopefully. We'll follow this low point, this creek line. And this sewer will follow that to get to that point, to get to the existing sewer lines up in there. So, infrastructure wise, that's how it will unfold. I think everybody said there's a lot of cost in that. And will one parcel support that? We'll have to see. I don't know. And I'd also say that those roads out there aren't the city of Jenks to develop. It's the county. And that fight's been going on for a long time also. But do you not do your comprehensive plan because the county won't develop the roads? I think you're hurting your city at that point. That's my thoughts.
So before I got on the planning commission, I really didn't know a ton about this, but one thing that I do want everybody to know that this is just the first step. This would go to the council if it's approved or not approved. And then you guys can all voice your opinions there. I want you guys to know that because years ago I didn't know that. So that's what I wanted you guys to know.
Just one last comment. You're absolutely right that Jenks is lacking somewhat in commercial properties that generate sales tax revenue. I would love to see like the outlet mall really help that. That also means things like the GO bond last year to improve other roads like Elm and, are more important because we're not getting that full sales tax revenue. So maybe this is one more for the future. But yeah, you're right.
I want to make one comment. In my years of real estate development, I've seen properties be rezoned and never developed. And I just want to stress the fact that this site has so many challenges. And I just believe if I were a betting man, this site would be developed because this one parcel or those 4 parcels together are not going to justify the cost of running that sewer and water to the site. Something else is going to have to happen to make this feasible. And I just don't see the site committed. Yes, the comprehensive plan supports the rezoning, but the way it stands right now, there's one parcel that's not going to be it's not going to justify the cost of utilities. It won't happen.
Their motion on item 3, it fits the comp plan. We'll make a motion, we approve agenda item number 3.
I'll second the rezoning.
Leon Davis,
Yes.
Greg Bowman,
Yes.
Dave Randolph,
No.
John Brown,
Yes.
Scott West.
Yes. Agenda item 4 is consideration possible approval, denial, amendment, and or revision of JZ 21-671. Request by Lisa Goldsmith for a zone change from an RS1 single-family low density to an OL office low intensity. General location is 208 East Aquarium Place. Marseille?
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. This item is, wait just a minute. If you can take your conversation to the hallway, I would appreciate it. Okay, this item is basically cleaning up an existing parcel that's operated as an office for many, many years. It was recently sold. It's in the downtown 208 East Aquarium Place. It's actually adjacent to the property that's being developed for apartments by Mr. Dwayne Phillips. And the owner, I guess, sold it as an office, and Brandon received a phone call requesting a zoning verification letter for their insurance or title or something, and we could not write it because you can't operate an office out of a residential zoned structure. And so anyway, they kind of said, hey, we better do something about this, and that's where we're at tonight. So we've had a couple of citizens inquiring about it. This company has, I looked at their website, they have headquarters, I wrote quartered, maybe that's all right, she wrote it, headquartered in Missouri, and they are a marine and building materials company. So they have kind of two sister companies, and apparently they have some owners and executive offices now functioning out of this recently purchased building. So it is lot 9 and 10 of block 30 in old Jenks original town. They kind of gave you a little summary. I literally just copied and pasted what she had said. We are a family owned business. We have a small team of executives / owners that office in Jenks. We have approximately 8 parking spots, including the driveway and the front space that is zoned to the property. On any given day, at most, we have 5 people who office from the property. We do not and will not be doing any retail business at this address. And that is pretty well how it's already functioned. They kind of, the previous owners just had it set up as a personal office. So on page 2, you can see where it's located. And then the photographs I think Brendan has pulled up, that's the front. And I've driven by a couple of times since they made application. It's probably a stretch to say they have 8 spaces, and I would not count the one in the street. They needed 5, and I gave them credit for 5. We'll just call it good. So there's a couple of other views available in your packet. The application is a request to approve an office use, which appears to have existed for almost 8 years. And I gathered that information just by going back on Google Earth when they added all the parking in the back, because it seemed they remodeled and everything. And it seemed to me that that's probably when they shifted it to an office use. Staff recommends conditional approval of the rezoning request from RS1 to OL. They will need to contact the fire chief for a life safety inspection, and then contact protective inspections if they intend to do any remodeling or construction.
All right, any concerns, questions?
You can hear from that fourth one. President. Seems to fit well to me.
It does.
Think.
Yeah, it's a good fit.
Do y'all wish to speak on this item? No, okay. Close the floor. Is there a motion on item number 4?
Make a motion that we approve JZ 21-671, as stated, for conditional approval. I noticed you added that language.
I'll second that.
Let's vote.
Leon Davis,
Yes.
Craig Bowman,
Yes.
Dave Randolph,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Scott West.
Yes. Item 5, consideration possible approval, denial, amendment, and/or revision of JZ 21-672, request by Ryan McCarty for an amendment to the comp plan land use map from single family to business park, and a zone change from AG agricultural to OM medium office. General location 121st and Elm, north of Fire Station number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. This item is, application came after we had a pre-development meeting. If you're familiar with that area, it's north of Fire Station number 2, between Elwood and Elm, very close to the area we're taking of, just down the road about a mile. And it's north of 121st Street. So in this particular case, Mr. Jordan owns everything between the two subdivisions, so to speak, that's adjacent to 121st. So when you're looking at the map above, all of that green he owns, all of the gray he owns. And so the portion that we're talking about is about 21 acres. And then further to the west is where he built the mini storage and has the coffee shop. And then to the east is the South. I never get the name right. South County. I always want to say country. South County Crossing. So all of that's owned by Mr. Jordan. He does have 2 representatives here tonight. Later in the conversation, if you want to speak with them, they are available.
Okay.
There are three steps in this, and I requested that they go ahead and amend the comprehensive plan tonight because I felt like, number one, they didn't realize the comprehensive plan had changed. So when they purchased the property, it was for industrial purposes, and that's what the comprehensive plan said. And so they came in thinking that an office use was a shoe-in, they were ready to go, and I'm like, whoop, hang on, we need to talk. So House of Levine had recommended single-family residential, and I included the deed restrictions in here, and the previous owners do not recommend that it ever be developed for single-family residential. And with that being said, after we had the conversation, I said, let's do business park. I think it would be better for that area. And of course, if you know Mr. Jordan, he has a lot of ideas about that area. So we'll see what happens in the future. But tonight we're just rezoning the portion that I've included in the packet. So there's a comprehensive plan amendment, and I wanted to get that in front of the public as quickly as possible so that they would know that they're not living adjacent to single family residential development in the future, that it would be something different. And as we move forward through the UDO, one of the things that I want to see after attending a real estate class or meeting, one of the greatest demands right now, as you know, because of COVID, everybody is doing business and life differently, and the use for office space does not have the same demand it had previously. And but apparently we keep buying stuff, so there's all kinds of different needs. I don't think anyway, office warehouse is one of the things that they said there's a huge demand and nobody sees that going away, that people want to have nice office space, but they also want to be able to keep their goods close by and be able to warehouse them to get them out the door quicker, because of you never know if you're going to be able to ship things or if a manufacturing facility is going to shut down, et cetera. So in the new UDO, I will make sure that the office warehouse style, with conditions, of course, is allowed in the business park concept. All of that to say that there's 3 requests: comp plan amendment from single family medium intensity to business park, a rezoning from ag to office medium, and a lot split. And that's it.
All right. Discussion.
So you have the same concerns, David, with traffic?
Not as much. It seems like farther to the east here, it's less of a deal.
It's only a mile away.
Yeah.
Let's go back.
My one kind of west of Elwood seems the worst to the highway. So I guess to answer your question, kind of, but not nearly as much. Not enough to say no in my mind at this point.
Seen your comment, I don't know if it was this tract or another tract that we had originally looked at it. There's some discussion about future development residential, and there was some environmental concerns with the soil or the water. Is this the?
Yes, it is.
So will that, will that have any impact on office then? From a
No.
perspective?
Well, they'll have to go through all the proper remediation if necessary, but basically, if you look on page 48, I've included the corrective deed. And it says restrictions to not allow the property for residential purposes, it being the expressed intent of the parties that the property will be used for industrial or other commercial uses only, and that at no time will any persons be domiciled or otherwise reside on the property. And then number 2 is to prevent the withdrawal of groundwater on and at, under, or from the property. So you remembered correctly.
And based on what I saw on the layout, it looks like everything relatively south of the creek or.
Yes, yeah. And that, this immediate, now later, big plans, more development. But for now, it's 2 offices south of that creek line.
The one question I had on the private drive going back there, is there some intent to connect the private drive then to the west into the storage? So
I will let Mr. McCarty answer those questions that did not come up in our conversation during the pre-development meeting.
Ryan McCarty's like design PO Box 548, Big Scale, Oklahoma. Very, very valid question. We tried many times to figure that out, but there will be no connection to the storage. We've already put it in with the South County Crossing, well, with the IL parcels that are over there. We did put in a Main Creek crossing north of this private drive to go across. Like Marseille said, Kevin has so many ideas. We were going to come in and just do a BD on all of it, and that is in the works.
Okay.
Once we get him nailed down on what we're going to do north of the creek. So we just came in with a quick zoning change. We've got I'll just read you guys so you know. It's the medical office is like a national chain, is one of the buildings. And then what was the other one? The site master, corporate office on the west, if we get approved. That's what's going to go in immediately. So they have answered these questions. So.
I will say plating is required, but I, as part of the approval, am requesting that they just do the lot split only and meet those requirements and plat at the time of full development. So plating is required, but I'm asking for it to be deferred.
I have one question that's not related to this. Are there still plans to do the wine club associated with the storage? Yeah, I thought that was a really cool idea.
I thought that.
It's close.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool.
Still. All those crazy ideas.
It works. I thought it sounded really cool.
Repeat that again. What was the question? What?
Okay, it's not even related to this, but in the storage facility where they put in the coffee shop.
See, I drive by there and I was looking at I guess when you order the coffee, what is that?
Yeah.
Over there, I mean, my storage I had didn't have anything like that.
Yeah. So kind of on top of that, they were talking about doing kind of like a private entertainment wine club type deal.
That it's just storage.
Sorry, I got
it. Also store your wine there, like you get it or some type of professional wine store. So you come with your friends, pull your wine out that's been in storage, and then sit down in like a little gathering place and chat or read books or whatever. It's kind of a, it's that utopian kind of thing.
Quite a vision.
That's how you get your friends to help move things in.
Exactly it.
Can't wait till you hear the rest of the story.
We got more stuff coming.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Cool. That's property.
He's the big dreamer.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
In all seriousness, I like the innovative ideas like this.
I do too.
That there's cool stuff elsewhere in the metro area and sort of like that
Mhm.
has done well. So, I mean, I don't want to, don't take me trifling as like a negative thing. Like, I think there's cool ideas and some of those really, they work well. So anyway, I'm excited about stuff like that.
Sometimes the pioneer idea is it doesn't take off. So some of them do, some of them don't. We'll see what happens.
Show me the right one.
Number 5.
672, right?
Yes.
I make motion to approve JC 21-672.
I'll second.
Leon Davis,
Yes.
Greg Bowman,
Yes.
David Randolph,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Scott West.
Yes. Other business, discussion on current status of the UDO.
That's what we did, it's not Jenks, separate ones.
That's why I asked, because I saw 2 numbers. So
Probably for the record, let's go ahead and go through the comp plan amendment and the lot split, just to be safe. The
Okay.
motion for the comp plan amendment.
Okay.
Can we do this separately?
You can do, as long as we cover both of them.
Make a motion, then we go ahead and amend the comp plan to go to office medium and approve the lot split LS 21-315.
Surprise Business Park on the comp plan.
Exactly.
Business Park.
Business park, yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll second.
So again.
Leon Davis,
yes.
Greg Bowman,
Yes.
David Randolph,
Yes.
John Brown,
Yes.
Scott West.
Yes. Discussion on the UDO.
Okay. You all were given tonight, the draft versions that are available online, and I know you probably have a copy printed that you carry around with you to look over and peruse during your breaks. All the time, over and over. But we can spend as little or as long as you want tonight on this. And so I want to say up front, Mr. Davis is on the committee for the UDO, and he's done an outstanding job. He and I and Brandon met twice prior to tonight to discuss what we thought we wanted to bring to your attention. But in addition to that, I want you to know that I am available to talk about this anytime, and probably it's minimum 2-hour conversation. Just saying. We can make it a short, not tonight, but I'm saying if you wanted to meet with me and really talk about this, it takes a long time to really go through it. But anyway, with that being said, my biggest goal is when we get to adoption, which I was pushing for September, but it might be the end of October. I want you all to feel very confident and very comfortable with the product that you're getting. And I know that we went through the public hearing process. I wasn't there for any of that. And I know that based on what I've seen, they have tried to incorporate it, and I've given them list after list of things to look at and discuss. But at the end of the day, this is still based on citizen input, and it is a document that is recommended by the Planning Commission and adopted by the City Council, and it should reflect our values, our positions for moving forward as a city. So I just want you, I really want to make sure that you're comfortable with it. So when then you make a recommendation to approve, that you do it with confidence. So the only thing in front of you, there are 7 articles, and they'll be a little bit restructured because we're going to completely do away with the appendix in the city code. So it will all be found within the city code, not within the appendix. So there will no longer be this extra code stuff.
That was Robert's playground.
Going away. I don't need a playground. I'll go to the park. So with that being said, again, tonight, I know it's already a little bit later than what we intend. So maybe a 10-minute overview. If Leon can, I ask him really to say to you all what he thinks is a big deal, that what he has seen in all of our conversations, because he's attended the meetings. We have a great committee, I think. They're outstanding professionals in the community of planning and urban design, and they're outstanding professionals, and they've given a lot of input. So that being said, Mr. Davis, do you want to start with Article 1 and make any comments?
I thought Commissioner Davis was gonna have us over to his house, fire up the barbecue grill. Here we go.
That's what I heard.
That would require it to be open to the public.
Good point.
Maybe not yet.
I just wanted to say just basically on Article 1, I don't have much to say there other than the fact that being part of the process really gave me appreciation for this process, because a lot of the things that we look at and we ask our questions about and we seek clarification seem to be captured in this document itself, and it's addressing a lot of those things. Off the top of my head, I mean, one of the things that I appreciate Marseille and Brandon for their patience in dealing with me, because it was hard to keep me on track because I had so many opinions about things. But in particular, I mean, when you start looking at the way the document is broken down, you have the provisions, and then you have the standards, which are the measurements themselves, the calculations, dealing with some of the technical things that we've talked about in terms of the setbacks. Do we even apply the side setbacks? Or, for years we've been having such spacing between houses, but now we have the UDO, but we didn't have the UDO approved at the time that it came up. So it's addressing a lot of the things that are prominent right now. Just going through the process of the things that really stand out to me that Mercedes is going to touch upon and bring some clarification on is, we talk about a vibrant downtown. Okay, we mentioned that throughout our comprehensive plan, but we don't necessarily vote or take the actions to have a vibrant downtown. When we start talking about the murals, and that's a big thing across the country. And we start talking about this, about sound, entertainment venues are a big thing for vibrant downtowns. So we can't be a small bedroom quiet community and be a vibrant downtown. So we have to make some choices, some decisions, especially as it applies to housing. And because those decisions impact whether or not we're going to have a vibrant downtown. And I try to really, walk the fine line in terms of downtown. I mean, you see some of the mistakes that some of the communities have made. In downtown, you talk about housing. Housing is a big issue, and what type of housing it is. So when we look at our comprehensive plan, we look at the UDO process, we talk about the type of housing. Senior housing doesn't fit in a vibrant downtown. That's a problem. And so I just want to throw that out there. The other thing that Mercedes mentioned she's going to talk about is, that came up tonight, is office. We've talked a lot about home-based offices, and when you register, you have to register that you have home-based business, but we know that's a great violation because especially right now, a lot of people are working from home. A lot of people have been working from home, in the profession. So does that qualify realtors and some of the other sales individuals, as a home-based business? As far as the registry, how do you really track that? You keep it accountable. If you have an EDO, we have to do something about it. And then the other thing is, and this is the big gorilla that everyone's trying to deal with, is on the marijuana. When we start talking about light industrial, medium industrial, what can go in. You know, if you can't turn down a dispenser, you can allow CVX to go in. Okay, is there a clarification between CVS and dispensary that we can make? You know, those are tough problems that they need to be hashed out, clarify some more. But just off the top of my head, I mean, those are the last one is signage. And we talked about different forms of signage in terms of appropriateness downtown, but then within the residential areas themselves, what constitutes a permanent sign? If you guys remember, I think I was alone with one that got defeated. I love the signs that were on town. I want to say that again. I like the signs on
the construction signs.
Live here, and another sign says great place, another sign says live here again. I like that. So signs along the sidewalks that were outvoted and removed. You know, I like those signs. I like those signs. I'm gonna end there.
All right. Well, do you have any questions for me? I know that you just received the hard copies. I would say pay a lot of attention. Brandon and I talked about also that the charts that are in here are where there's a lot of information. There's some, when I read through it for probably the 5th time this afternoon, I didn't get very far because there's a lot to read, but I already saw things that need to be corrected again. We are planning to completely rezone the downtown core, so it will all be its own separate zoning. So keep that in mind. And also all the properties along the riverfront that have been identified in the comp plan, and then in here, those will all be rezoned. And those aren't very many owners. It's mostly the city and a couple of other people. And then residential mobile home goes away. It's a legacy district and no new ones can be created. And industrial medium or moderate is also a legacy district. And I think that's about it. Just very quickly, give me your feedback. Do you want to meet with me? Do you feel comfortable just reading through it yourself and marking up your questions and emailing me?
Sure, that's first.
No.
This is it.
There are not. It was a lot. That's why I like Brendan probably needs a bonus for having to suffer through this over and over and over, because I kind of learned by talking out loud and drawing. So I'll be really happy when they give us all the exhibits, because there's still, like, I have so many doodles where I'm drawing pictures. I think this means this is this far and that's that. Like, I have picture after picture after picture where I'm trying to process. So if you want me to meet with you, let me know, text me, email me, and I will set time aside. I can actually meet with up to, I think 3 legally at a time.
If somebody does that, I'd like to be in that.
Okay.
I want to do it by myself. I don't want to waste your time, and you have to do somebody else.
Okay.
That would make sense. Maybe we can split the.
I'll join you. I would like at some point.
Okay.
And I would make a motion to divert all my pay to Brandon.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Just one other thing I was going to say. I wanted to point out. I think this is a big item for us to highlight is non-conformities.
I was gonna ask if we really hit non-conformities. That's a concern.
This is gonna be a lot.
How do we address those procedurally? So.
If they're already in the portal by the time of for the approval of this, they go through, but they're not conforming. How do we track that? And is that some point ownership changes, do they have to bring it into conformance if possible? So I know that there's constraints due to lot size and building heights. If those things, if those 2 items come into place, I don't know how you rectify those with the ownership change.
Okay.
I kind of believe, at least everything I've heard, is the fact that we're probably just going to handle non-conformities the same way we have been. So as long as the use remains the same and they're not doing any renovation or changing the building or anything, that simple sale and change of ownership will cause that to go.
Although I will say protective inspections did go in and and require someone to do some upgrades, even though it literally was the same exact use, because it just was not safe.
Well, are you talking about Jenks Restaurant? That was because it technically closed. They bought it and they were just using, that one was weird. Just put it that way.
It was an exception. Generally, like the office, generally it just transitions from one to the next, and you don't do anything. You don't go in and say, hey, where's your ADA compliant bathroom and where's your parking, et cetera, unless they're changing the use or something. And I think, I'll look it up, but I think there's a percentage, like if you intend to change something and it's more than 40% of the value or whatever, it triggers compliance. It's something like that. I don't remember exactly.
You know what the biggest insurance claim in California is right now?
No.
Stuff like that. Like if a business, ADA bathroom, they're getting sued.
Oh.
For $400,000 to $800,000. There's people that will go around doing that with people.
That happened in Tulsa.
It's actually
Yeah,
one of
that's
the
the
biggest,
thing, too.
it's the biggest growing claim here in Oklahoma too.
Okay,
So,
maybe we should.
So many bump outs and so many on sidewalks. We'll talk to downtown.
And the Department of Justice one that originally passed, they were talking about what reasonable modifications do you need to make for an existing business, and they didn't define reasonable standard.
So now it's being challenged. And they gave a window of getting things into compliance. So I think that window has expired. Okay, I'll send out, do you like the doodles? Like where I send you a doodle where you choose a time, a doodle poll where you choose a time?
You just tell me when and I'll be there.
Okay.
Give me, I guess I need a couple of times.
You probably didn't see it, but you have received one.
Okay. Doodle.
I do send y'all emails.
Yes.
Thank you. That's it. I really want y'all to feel comfortable with this moving forward.
This is not relevant, I guess, to the commission, but thinking about this and discussion about a vibrant downtown. Have we heard anything about redistricting where we're at the state level now that this census is out?
Yeah, it does change. No?
No, I haven't heard anything.
Does anything come down at the city level?
Not that
I think, by the time it's all done, Ward 1's going to have 27 residents.
Y'all have the same amount. All right, then. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Motion to adjourn.
Move.
Aye. Yes.
Second?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, when he turns it off,